Hi, Year 12s. Today, in this video, make it balance. Technical difficulties again. We are going to be having a little detour. We've been looking at exercise 5G, solving logarithmic and exponential equations, and I was going to go ahead and do the third worked example, example C, and I realised we really need to have a little chat about inequalities, because inequalities can be tricky things. So because we will meet a few of them over this course, I'm just going to talk a little bit about inequalities, why they're tricky and what to look out for. So the first thing to think about is when I need to solve an inequality, I need to first of all I need to find the boundary, and then I need to get the sign in the right direction. Okay, so if I need 2x is greater than 4, then the boundary is x is 2, and then 2 times that is going to give me 4. That's my boundary. I need x to be more than 2, not less than 2. So finding the 2, that's finding the boundary, and deciding more than, that's getting the sign in the right direction. So a long time ago, when you first learned to do equations, you would have learned the old rule, what I do to the left side, I also do to the right. Okay, and that's a really perfect rule for solving equations, because it keeps your equation balanced. It keeps both sides of the equation equal, which is really important for an equation. But for inequalities, it doesn't always apply. Well, it does apply. We still do the same to the left that we do to the right, but sometimes it changes this inequality sign. So here's a very straightforward example that you'll be quite familiar with. I've got x plus 2 is greater than 5. If I subtract 2 from both sides, I end up with x is greater than 3, which is correct. Okay. However, if I've got negative x plus 2 is greater than 5, and I then subtract 2 from both sides, I get negative x is greater than 3. If I then divide both sides or multiply both sides by -1, I'm going to get x is less than -3. And the reason that happens, if you look at this simple example here, it's true that -2 is less than 3. Now, if I change the sign of both of those, I end up with 2 and -3. 2 is clearly greater than -3. I need to swap the inequality sign to face the other direction when I make both sides negative of what they were before. Okay, so that's the first time you met inequalities and learnt that they can be a little bit tricky, but there are other tricky things in inequalities. So for example, 2 is less than 3, that's definitely true, but if I take the reciprocal of both sides, 1/2 is greater than 1/3, right? So that's a tricky inequality